Was there a coup d'etat in preparation in Iran before the ceasefire happened? Well, we'll talk about this as well as about the ceasefire, the violations of it, the potential coup d'etat, and we'll address questions. What is going to happen with the nuclear program? The weapons are silent for now, but a lot of questions are still open, and we are going to approach at least some of them in this video. Before the ceasefire came in effect, the Israelis kept striking targets in Iran. They report here that a surface-to-air missile vehicle was struck in Tehran itself. Radar systems, likely a ground-to-air station for satellites, was hit. Further missile storage sites in Kerem Shah and in Hamedan were also hit. The Israelis also hit further troops and infrastructure, military infrastructure in their attacks. And in regards to the nuclear program, we have a very interesting article here by the War Zone. They are actually saying that the Iranians filled up the entrances of Fordow not to protect it from some blasts, but to make a ground assault by the Israelis impossible. And that's as easy as it is evident almost. The Israelis might fly in with helicopters and they might be able to defeat the Iranians in place, but what they can't do is bring an excavator. So if there are tons and tons of earthworks of sand in front of the entrances, how do they even get in? That might actually be the explanation while we had dump trucks in front of Fordow. The Iranians struck Qatar, the airbase there. I reported it in the last video. And Trump's response to it is, well, the typical Trump style. First of all, he's confirming that the US got warned and this allowed them to bring everyone to safety. And he also said they've gotten it all out of their system. Okay. And then, of course, no further hate, and now everything can be fine, as you can imagine. He also confirmed that there were no wounded or killed Qataris on the ground as well. So no one got injured by this attack as well, even though in the last moments before the ceasefire came into effect, 4 civilians were killed in Beersheba, and the Iranians also kept striking with 2 missiles into Israel after the ceasefire came into effect. But civilians aren't just in danger in Israel and in Iran, by that matter. They're also in danger in Ukraine, and there you can help. Ukraine has developed the Sky-sentinel AI weapons platform. This system is used to shoot down attack drones like the Shahid drones and like Geran 2. In optimal conditions, it can even shoot down cruise missiles. United 24, the 8 platform, is now looking to finance 10 of these weapon platforms for 1.5 million. If you have some money to spare and want to help save Ukrainian lives, then please donate with the link in the description or scan the QR code. The Washington Post is reporting that the Israelis called 20 high-ranking representatives of the Iranian regime on their private cell phone after the war had begun, and they told them that they and their families will be killed if they don't disavow the regime and Khomeini. In an audio that was listened to by the Washington Post, they say that an IRGC, so Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps representative, got called, and the Israelis demanded that within 12 hours he must send a video of himself disavowing the regime to Israel, otherwise he and his family will be killed. The clear goal there is it was supposed to destabilize the regime. If those videos had been sent, then the Israelis could have published it, and basically imagine the war begins like this, and then well-known persons of the regime are suddenly publishing videos and say that it's all over and the regime is corrupt and we are all done or something like this. This could actually have a massive destabilizing effect. It does not seem to have worked. Otherwise, we would have seen those videos. Theoretically, the videos were made and will be used for blackmail in the future. That doesn't seem too likely, though. Regardless, the goal was to cause insecurity in the Iranian elites, and whether or not that was achieved, I cannot say. But the Israelis kept striking targets of the Iranian regime. Here, the report is a Basij headquarter in Tehran was hit. The Basij are the militia that help the regime in times of crisis, when there are uprising, when there are riots, when there's opposition on the streets. The Basij is being called in to end that with violence. The IRGC ground forces Sarala operational base was also struck, as well as other IRGC headquarters. Sarala is responsible for the security, the domestic security in Tehran. Out of that headquarters, the IRGC in the past had put down riots, had put down uprisings in Tehran. According to the Jerusalem Post, hundreds have been killed in those strikes, so supposedly a heavy strike against regime forces that was successful here. The Israelis also hit the IRGC in Karach, and there are several other reported strikes against the IRGC and regime security forces that are meant for regime stability over the last 24 hours, where the Israelis have struck them. The Israelis also struck a power feeder in Evin, which is interesting because this is the same area where the Evin prison is, where the Israelis struck the entrance to possibly allow prisoners to flee. The taking out the electricity in that case seems to be connected. Obviously, no clear proof, maybe to turn off alarm systems to help unlock locks or something like this. That's obviously unclear, but there might be a connection in this case, even though I have not seen any reports that anyone incarcerated there managed to get out there. The Israelis also struck the Iranian Republic of Iran broadcasting building that is sanctioned by the US. But all of this was supposed to end with this posting. Donald Trump posted yesterday evening, "Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in progress final missions. For 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel, God bless Iran, God bless the Middle East, God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world." So he announced the ceasefire on Truth Social, and during the ceasefire, while it started, the Iranians kept striking or fired 2 missiles into Israel. The Israelis then announced that they are going to respond to that and launched planes, as said, in light of the severe violation of the ceasefire carried out by the Iranian regime. We will respond in force. This was responded by Trump. Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do it, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. And his signature. There are reports that Israel conducted a strike despite everything, but they recalled the majority of the planes. The report is that all they did was strike a radar system north of Tehran. So basically they responded to one strike with one strike and didn't resume their full offensive. This is interesting because when we take a report here by a correspondent from the Israeli military radio, he's saying that they were afraid, that they were fears that this could lead to an endless war of attrition, in which Israel would be overwhelmed by the amount of targets. We need to understand that Israel can probably consistently only fly 30 to 50 missions at most per day over the distance in Iran, and Iran is a gigantic country with a big military. They have no chance of actually wiping out the military just with air missions alone. So the plan was to intensify the strikes over the next days to achieve the majority of goals, and then the idea was that it would switch over to more or less an unagreed, an unofficial ceasefire where both sides keep quiet and do not attack the others anymore. This would show that Trump has not in general done something against the wishes of the Israelis. There were obviously speculations that Trump now forces the Israelis to agree to a ceasefire to be able to get his Nobel Prize of Peace, which is said that he really, really wants it. This is being said that this could have been against Israeli wishes, but at least we see in this report that the Israelis were worried and wanted a ceasefire. They probably just didn't want it just yet. So it wasn't completely against their will. According to the reports, though it was probably a little too early. Interesting too that we have from the opposition media a report that Rouhani, the former president, was trying to connect with Khamenei, but he wasn't let in to approach him, and he was apparently in fear that the regime might fall over these strikes, though he wanted to give in and reach a compromise. He said that to save the regime, the enrichment should be suspended and a reconciliation with the West should be searched. Suspension is an important word because the US and Israel demand a cessation, I think is the word, of enrichment, so no more enrichment. Iran, on their turn, offered 3.67%. And a suspension, I guess, would mean that Iran keeps the enrichment plants, but they are being probably closed and under international supervision, that Iran can't open them up again. But that would allow Iran at any point to unlock the buildings and basically start up enrichment again. So it would actually be some kind of compromise in between the two. Still, though, it's unclear what that means, because he said Iran will never rebuild their nuclear facilities. That is Trump saying after the ceasefire. So what does that mean? Is that part of the ceasefire agreement? He just said on a plane that where he was flying that Iran will not enrich, and they know that, and they will not get the bomb, and they know that. So we'll have to see if there has been some kind of agreement, if Rouhani has gotten his way. We'll have to see that, because the informations here were also that a Channel 14 journalist in Israel said Israel received guarantees that Iran will not continue developing nuclear weapons. So what kind of guarantees? And that's an interesting thing, especially as we have an Atlantic article here, which basically says that a coup was planned. Now, they don't call it this way, but if you look at it, a group of Iranian businessmen, political and military figures, and relatives of high-ranking clerics, two sources involved in the discussions told me, had begun hatching a plan for running Iran without Khamenei. Now, if you have established figures taking over besides the constitutional and bypassing the constitutional system, how do you call that? It's a coup. So apparently there were coup plans in Iran to take over, to come to an agreement with the West and with Israel. Whether this has happened, or whether this was stopped now and now they might be hunted down, especially after it being published, that's a different story. But it seems that if the airstrikes would have continued, if the ceasefire would not have happened, there might have been some changes, but this is pure speculation. So it seems that there were at least coup plans, which also shows that the regime was actually hit fairly hard. But while these are the informations we have right now, we have a lot more questions. So what's going to happen with the nuclear program? What about this supposed guarantee? Has the coup d'etat happened? What is going to happen with the material? And what happened to the material and the centrifuges that might have been evacuated from Fordow, as was reported by Western media? If Iran has managed to evacuate IR-6 centrifuges, all it needs is 28 of these centrifuges to run for 1 year to turn the 60% enriched uranium into enough uranium to 90% enrichment for one nuclear weapon. 28 centrifuges are all they are needed, and one truck fits 280. So if they manage to fill just one truck with those centrifuges, they might be able to build enough to create enough material for a bomb within 5 to 6 weeks. That's the math here. So what is going to happen? Is Iran going to use the destruction to have material disappear? The International Atomic Energy Agency is surveilling the amount of material that is used by member states. They are surveilling so no nation can skip a little bit, can take a little bit out to develop nuclear weapons in secret. But usually that doesn't mean those facilities are being bombed. If Iran sprinkles enough of the nuclear material, so it's proof that there was this enriched material, and it's completely unrealistic that hundreds of tons or hundreds or tens of thousands of tons of rubble are being evacuated and then cleared and cleaned so the amount of uranium actually in that rubble can be determined. This might be an opportunity. I mean, people more knowledgeable about this than me might be able to reassure us, but I see a potential for Iran to have highly enriched material disappear. And as said in the video I'm going to link to you here, that's 90% of the way already to enough enrichment for nuclear weapons. The 60% Iran had gone most of the way. So if Iran reports there were 200 kilos here and they in fact only spread around 10 kilos, that might be able to allow them to disappear 190. I'm not sure about this, but this is a question that will have to be solved. So Israel also had the complete intel dominance in this war, which means that probably they know if the material was evacuated, and they probably know where it is right now. They should probably know how many centrifuges have been evacuated, if that's true. They might not be willing to strike the material right now because uranium is highly toxic. Apart from the nuclear potential, from the radiation, it's also highly toxic. And 400 kilos of that spread around, that's a small Chernobyl, basically, at some point. This is probably not something Israel wants to do if it can avoid it. So Israel might know everything, but this is a guess. They might know everything, or it might have skipped their knowledge this time. Regardless, we have the Israelis themselves saying we've set Iran's nuclear project back by years, and the same applies to his missile program. It's important to see the words here. We've set it back by years, not we ended it. So the nuclear program, according to this, is still in existence. We'll have to see what comes out of Trump's claim that they will never have nuclear weapons and they will never enrich. We'll have to see how that continues in the next weeks, because I'm pretty sure we will find out. And if it becomes public and when you've subscribed to this channel, then you'll find out as well. And at that point, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss future news about this. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Leave a comment if you have something to add. This channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. If you like to support the channel, you can do so by the means in the description. But that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.